really the only major meat that was in the Sony press conference was some of the new games that they announced, and the one major release that was announced for the first time at E3 was the new Twisted Metal. Which is pretty cool because it's been, what, something like 10 years since the last Twisted Metal game came out. A lot of people have been asking for this, and Twisted Metal had always been a Sony exclusive, so a big, you know, a third-party title announcement like that that's exclusive to PS3, it was a real surprise, and I think a lot of people were happy.
Yeah, I like how they had a guy from Sweet Tooth come out. That's actually the game I'm most excited about from E3.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, Sony's in third place, you know, let's be honest here. I don't know if that's the game that's going to bring them back. I mean, going up against the Halo and the Gear, I actually like Twisted Metal better in my opinion.
Right, sure.
I don't know if that's the game that's going to bring them back.
Well, the other thing is the only other games that they really talked about were these games that were all sequels. Like you said, Killzone 3. Well, Killzone 2 really didn't do that well. So now you're going to try to push the sequel to that.
Why don't we try a new franchise? They did great with Uncharted. They did great with some of the others. So why don't we try something? They gotta really try something here to come back. I mean, they're not.
Right. The other major...
I don't know if those are the games that are going to do it for them. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not very smart.
Yeah.
That's true, right?
The only major topic of discussion left that Sony talked about was that they have this new premium PSN service, and this had actually been coming for quite a while. There were lots of rumblings and rumors that the PSN service was going to become a pay service, just like Xbox Live, and now that Sony kind of finally confirmed and said, well, no, the PSN's still going to be free, but there's going to be this new premium service that if you pay for it,
what the fuck is it?
All the extra features.
You know?
Well, exactly right. They didn't explain it. Basically, here's what they said. They said, it's not cross-game chat, it's not this, it's not that, but they didn't explain exactly what you're going to get.
You talked about the Wipeout demo or the game Wipeout HD or something?
I think they're
that if you get it?
I think they're saying like you get demos ahead of time or something.
Yeah, I don't really understand what it is.
But
if it's a fix to the PlayStation Network, I don't think, in my opinion, the PlayStation Network doesn't work that well. I wouldn't mind paying $50, but I don't understand the people that, oh, it's free, that's why it's better. But
right. It doesn't seem to make...
Games are $60, which with $50 for a good network that works correctly.
Right. I mean, Xbox 360, sure, it has its problems with Xbox Live, but if you want to find your friend online, you want to see what he's playing, you want to add him to a buddy list, you want to set up a party, I mean, all that's right there at your fingertips. That's what people have been asking for, and maybe this pay service that's what it's going to be. But again,
that's what it is. I'd gladly get it. If it's gonna work, it's gonna make it work better.
Right.
I mean, it's a good idea. I don't really know what it is. They didn't really explain it.
It just didn't seem to be very clear. So
maybe someday we'll figure that out.
Yeah. So the last major press conference out of the big three is Nintendo. Nintendo's still pretty much the leader in the market, which is kind of ridiculous because when you take a look at the titles that they've been offering the core gamer in the past, say, 3 to 4 years with the Wii, haven't exactly been AAA titles.
It's a lot of crap.
Their major focus seemed to be, this press conference, was the 3DS, which is yet another model of the fucking Nintendo DS. I mean, how many Nintendo DSs can you possibly own by now? There must be like 5 models now, and now here's a new one. The major push for this console DS is because it's in 3D, but the thing is, you can't record 3D footage. So there was no footage anywhere of really the games or the performance of what they look like.
I don't know. People say it's good. Maybe it's fantastic.
But how would you fucking know unless you were there?
Would you really trust them to buy the first one? How many is there going to be?
Well, that's the thing.
And how many times is it going to get better?
That's the thing, because you're right. A good point is the original DS. I remember I had the original Nintendo DS, and I couldn't see the fucking screens.
Yeah.
They weren't backlit.
Like there was 3 DSs or 4?
I think there's 4 at this point.
Yeah, 4 DSs.
And it's like, each one's better. Do you really want the first one to have the 3D technology, or is this going to be the one with the sucky battery, with the screens you can't see, the one that gives you fucking headaches like the Virtual Boy? Like, who knows what this is going to be like.
Are they really going to try their best to make it the best one they can? Or are they going to go, well, we have this other one in development?
It's hard to back a company like that seems that every year they have to put a new version of their console.
They were making Street Fighter 4 for it. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh my god.
And they announced Kid Icarus, which looks nothing like Kid Icarus. It's, it looks like every other third-person game. So
I can't even believe they made Street Fighter 4 for the iPhone. So
it's probably gonna be the same thing.
It was kind of funny because the major game announcement for Nintendo was the new Zelda, which is called Skyward Sword. And they had this really epic trailer for it. They showed, Majora's Mask, and they showed, I think, the Ocarina, and then they showed the wolf from Twilight Princess, and then they show Link, and then they go to the game footage, and it's fucking pretty much identical to the past 3 Zelda games. Like, it shows him shooting his arrow and attacking, and it's over. And it's like, What did you just show me? Did you actually show me a new game, or is that a rehash from the last game?
Basically, well, first of all, I like to say I'm glad it doesn't have a train or like a boat or something.
Oh, you don't like those gimmicks?
It's like a gimmick. It's just a straight up game. But
right.
I guess the gimmick in this one is the Wii motion. You have a shield and you have the sword.
Right. But it was funny because when they were demoing it, they actually had Miyamoto out there on stage trying to do it, and he couldn't fucking do it. Like, you gotta see the clip. It's hilarious. He's trying to shoot the arrow, and the other guy's trying to tell him. Now think of this is pretty much the father of Nintendo. Some guy's trying to tell him how to use the Wiimote. He's like, no, just aim it straight. He's like, okay. And he fires, and the fucking arrow goes, woo, right into the ground. So he says, no, aim up. So he goes, oh, and he shoots it up into the fucking sky. And then when he's actually trying to use the sword, he's trying to attack enemies, and Link's like going like this instead of actually doing what it's supposed to do.
It was all fucked up. They blamed it on like interference or something like that.
But again, this is just another reason why the core gamer doesn't care about motion control.
I can't play that game. I like Zelda. I played most of the Zeldas. I can't sit there and go like this, like that.
How many hours can you fucking flail your arms around in the sky?
It's not appealing to me.
It's
And instead of making a game with that gimmick, why don't we make a Zelda with like graphics and voice acting and some modern effect? Instead of making Ocarina 4 times.
Why can't we just make it professional at this point? There's been other games like Heavy Rain that it becomes a very adult content, a very serious voice acting, that kind of a really good plot. Those are the kind of games that the core gamers want, not these kiddie games that they keep shoveling.
What's the next level of Zelda? You go from the original to A Link to the Past is a big jump, and then you go from that to Ocarina is a big jump.
Right.
And we've been kind of stuck in 1998 since that came out. So.
There's a lack of innovation in games, and speaking to that point, some of the other major titles that they announced, a new Donkey Kong Country that's in 3D, and the return of GoldenEye. So wait a minute. Okay, your two newest games are old games that you're just rehashing to bring back to your console, and it's like, how many times can you do the same thing?
First of all, those games are made by Rare, which is not part of Nintendo anymore. I think these games are more. GoldenEye's made by Activision now.
Right.
I don't know who the fuck's making Donkey Kong.
I don't know. Maybe they just bought it out or something.
I'm glad I was a kid when I was a kid because Donkey Kong Country came out. It was an amazing game. It was a revolution. It was a graphical.
Right. Absolutely.
This is just
more. It's more the same. It's like back then, that's what sold the game. But what's going to sell the game now? And it's just a 2D platformer.
They're just trying to pass it on. Where's the new revolutions in gaming? Where's the next step?
And some of the weird things that happen, like they introduced this game called Kirby Epic Yarn, which is basically just Kirby, only he's made of yarn. He uses yarn to do stuff. It's like, okay.
It's kind of bizarre.
My 5-year-old might like that game, but is anyone really going to buy it other than for their kid for Christmas? Probably not.
Very strange.
They did show Epic Mickey, which a lot of people have been wondering what that game was going to look like.
Right.
Which is a good thing, because when you have a lot of people questioning it, and they did show some, it kind of looks like a standard platformer, but there are a couple elements like with paint and paint thinner, where you can like totally take down a wall and then build another wall back up or something like that. So hopefully that would be, something cool. But I think the thing that left the biggest impact in my mind from this whole press conference is if you go over to GameTrailers.com and you actually watch their latest episode of, I think it's G4 TV from E3, they have one of the guys interviewing Reggie, who's, the head of the Nintendo of America CEO, Big Shot, and they basically are interviewing him on what do you think of the press conference, and one of the major questions they asked were, have you seen this ad that's been all over the TV for Blur? Now, Blur is this racing game made by Activision, and the ad for it pokes fun at Mario Kart. It actually shows, like, the beginning looks like a Mario Kart kind of a deal with these cartoon characters about to race, and one of them drives over to the side and says, wait, what's that? Through the chain link fence, and he sees the game Blur, and he's like, wow, I'm amazed, why can't I be over there? And then one of his co-racers comes up and says, hey, racing's not about winning, it's about making friends.
So basically making fun of Mario Kart in a way.
It's making fun of Mario Kart, and Reggie, when he was being interviewed about this, said, oh, well, this is a horrible thing that Activision's doing because he's making fun of all the children and my children who play Mario Kart. And it's like, Reggie, don't you realize that in that one sentence you pretty much just admitted your entire console is just for kids and you're not really trying to appeal to the core gamer?
It pretty much is. I mean, at this point, it's what it is. What it is.
And it's sad because back in the when the early days of Nintendo, when you had the Nintendo and the Super NES, both kids and adults enjoyed those games. Yeah. Now it's kind of like they've dumbed down the games to the point where only kids are going to
they were appealing to kids, but also had a difficulty level and a certain, almost like an edge to them that was, you don't really find anymore.
You don't feel like any game you play on the Wii is classic anymore. That's kind of a downer.
And the sad truth of all this, like I played the new Mario Brothers game, like I own a Wii and I played a lot of these games. They're not as good as the original material. It just doesn't hold up.
Right.
It just isn't what it was.
Right.
And it's sad,